This is my data overview of grades 3 through 5 CRCT all subject areas for Manning Oaks Elementary School. The purpose of this data overview is to present information of the last 3 years of the CRCT data for grades 3 through 5. We'll make observations for strengths and weaknesses based on aggregate CRCT data for school years 2010, 11, 2012. Based on data displays, our scope of inquiry will focus on we will interpret strengths and weaknesses in student performance for these grade levels. Together, we'll formulate an action plan to strengthen identified weak areas. Now let's get started. We're not here to form a data team to be negative. All of our time is valuable, and we have expectations and norms we must adhere to. As we meet together and interpret our data results and formulate a plan, we need to focus on our overall goal, which is to improve student performance. We need to keep a professional tone to be productive and work collaboratively. Some strategies we should pay attention to are adhering to norms that we will determine prior to beginning our data inquiry. We will all have a role, are members of our data team, and we will adhere to the descriptions of our roles. We will make positive inquiries, and we are not going to blame the teachers from the previous years, the parents, or the students themselves. All statements and interpretations made must be supported with evidence from the data results. Here's one comparison of attendance data for the last 3 years for grades 3 through 5 at Manning Oaks Elementary School. You'll see that the attendance for grade 3 years ago was the lowest of all 3 years. The most positive result would be the 90% of attendance by students in grades 4 just the previous year. Attendance does seem to improve all 3 years in grades 4, but then does drop off again in grades 5. Our demographic breakdown for students in our school are broken into white, black, Hispanic, Asians, or 2 or more races, American Indian, Alaskan, Pacific Islander. Now, we have our school and our state average being compared with the average of white being 44%, and we are about 13% below that. And we're also below the state average for black students, but we are higher for Hispanic, and we are higher for Asian. We're slightly 2% higher for 2 or more races in 2010, so the 3 years ago. Now, if we look at the following consecutive year, comparing demographics of our school to the state, we are almost 20% below state average for white students, and we almost make the state average for black students. Hispanics are almost doubled in our school compared to the state average. Asian percentage of students is almost quadrupled, and 2 or more races, again, is fairly close with a 2% difference. Let's look at the last year's data for demographics at our school for student population based on ethnicity. Our white students, about 21% below state average. Our black students, about 11 points percentage below the state. And the Hispanic is a lot higher. It's a good percentage above the state average, more than almost doubled. And the Asian again have quadrupled. 2 or more races seem to have almost doubled as well. Now, comparing the data from the last 3 years of student demographics, we can identify some statements to support our 33% transiency rate for Manning Oaks Elementary School. From 2010 to 2012, our black population increased by 5%. From 2010 to 2012, our Hispanic population grew 8%. The Asian population fell 4%. Students of two or more races rose 3%. And the white population dropped 7% from 2010 to 2011, then fell another 9% from 2011 to 2012. And again, our transient rate is 33%. And I like to say that we were pretty much redistricted as well 3 or 4 years ago. That's perhaps could be a reason for starting a trend in data discrepancies. Now, let's look at the CRCT overall scores for grade 3 for our school. We had 119 students in 3rd grade tested, and our aggregated CRCT results show that we increase in reading 3 years in a row. Our language arts, we have also steadily increased. From 2010 to 12, we have made double-digit gains, going from an 84% of students who meet or exceed to a 98%. That is a 14% increase. Math, the trend seems to be a bit more steady. However, it still increases. From 2010 to 2012, we have definitely grown a good 9%. Science appears to be fairly steady. In the 80%, and social studies as well seems to maintain a steady trend as the years are compared. Looking at 4th grade CRCT results for Meeting Oaks Elementary School, 123 students were tested, and this is the aggregated data for the last 3 years. Again, reading is also a strength in 4th grade, just like it is in 3rd grade, with the reading results of meets or exceeds students rising 17 points in 3 years, 17% in 3 years, double-digit gains. Language arts, we were strong. We started out strong in 2010, and then we fell 4% the following year, but then we immediately picked back up and made a 9% increase from the previous year. So that was a very strong improvement. Math, we were 76% meets or exceeds on the 2010 CRCT, jumping to 89% of students meeting or exceeding math in grade 4 at Manning Oaks Elementary School. That is definitely a double-digit gain as well. And then another raise of 3% to 91% of students meeting or exceeding math the last CRCT year. Definitely positive increases for reading and for math. For science, again, we started 3 years ago 81%. We had a steady increase to 83% and then jumped 10% in 1 year. Social studies appears to be steady, starting at 79% and ending with 82% the last 2 years of students meeting or exceeding CRCT. Looking at grade 5 CRCT, 117 students were tested, and these are the aggregated results for the last 3 years. Reading is again a strength in 5th grade as compared to 3rd and 4th, with 90% of students meeting or exceeding, increasing the following year to 92%, and then to 97% last year. Math made small gains. They remained on a steady trend for 2 years and increased 4%. Language arts started off fairly strongly and again dropped off the second year that we're looking at, and then made another 10% gain from the 11 to 2012. Comparing grade 4 and grade 5, the same type of trend occurred. The 2010 was strong. Students decreased in meeting or exceeding standards, and then again picked up and made those improvements and again increased. For science, fairly steady, making a 5% gain the last year. And for social studies, we did make 4% gain in 3 years, but however, we maintain a steady trend in improvements. Looking at the performance comparison of reading, math, language arts, science, and social studies for third grade in 2012 CRCT, comparing the percentage of meets or exceeds to Manning Oaks, Fulton County, in Georgia, you'll see that reading has started out equally with the state. Georgia seems to have increased in math and the language arts, and then the state actually dropped gains for science, where Manning Oaks had an opposite trend increase in 2012. Grade 4 CRCT results starts Manning Oaks and Fulton County above the state average, and then maintaining an equal trend, and then Manning Oaks again, after their steady trend in math, definitely improved their percentage of meets or exceeds in science. And we dropped in social studies, but then we met equally with the state and the county. Looking at grade 5, seems to be close percentage differences across the board, pretty much. Reading for Manning Oaks and Fulton County are around the same percentage, showing the same gains. The state exceeded the school and the county, however, dropped off in science, where again Manning Oaks and the county increased gains in science and social studies. What does all this mean? Well, we did notice that math was a weakness in each of the areas of the subjects for the 3 grade levels. So we're going to work on math facts fluency and then processing word problems. For strengths for reading, we've proven to improve in nonfiction with science and social studies. We have made tremendous gains the last 3 years, so we're going to continue using what we have been implementing the last 3 years and continuing to implement that nonfiction DRA level guided reading instruction in our reading block to double dose the science social studies along with nonfiction to strengthen those areas as well. Where do we go from here? How can we improve instruction so there's a positive impact on student learning? We're looking at our deficit in math across the board in all subjects, or all grade levels. Math, seems to have taken the least amount of improvements. So let's focus on math. Word problems are always a weak area for all grade levels. So let's focus on improving word problems and then simultaneously improving math facts so the students are not making error based on fluency of math facts. We need to form a team, accept the evidence from our data, make an action plan. What will best practice look like during our math block? Should the faculty be involved in instructional development sessions using Math Talk as a resource? Should we involve K-2 or just leave it to 3 through 5? What research-based strategies shall be implemented during our math block? And how will instruction be observed so positive feedback can improve best practices? And who shall complete these observations of teachers and meet and give feedback, and so teachers can improve their instruction, focus on the weaknesses, monitor their research strategies by looking at their data. Well, thank you for listening to my data overview from Manning Oaks Elementary School. I hope you have been very well informed.